Hello, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and I'm thrilled to be here today for this opening night special event Q&A with the YouTube Originals docuseries, Demi Lovato, Dancing with the Devil. At this time, please join me in welcoming today's guests who brought this powerful series to life. I want to start with the documentary subject, Demi Lovato. We have director and executive producer Michael D. Ratner, and global head of original content at YouTube, Susanne Daniels. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Congratulations on a wonderful series. Demi, you are so honest and vulnerable in this, and talking about your 2018 overdose, I learned so many things that surprised me. At what point did you decide to tell your story and to do so with complete unvarnished honesty?
I knew that the moment I woke up in the hospital that I knew I wanted to share my story and set the record straight about what was going on, because there were so many stories floating around when I was in the hospital, what had happened, and then it seemed like as time went on, people, didn't get the full story, and they also didn't see how bad it was, I guess. And I, in order to show my fans how far I've come, I wanted to show them, the full truth. And as painful and as uncomfortable as it was at times, it also, I think, really is going to benefit so many people. And that's the ultimate reason why I've decided to share my story.
I mean, I was shocked. I thought I knew the story. I had no idea 3 strokes and a heart attack just completely blew me away.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, and there were even other things that happened, and it was a lot. It was heavy, and I'm really grateful that I survived, and I definitely feel like I have a purpose.
Oh, absolutely. And Michael, what interested you in being part of this project, and how did you sort of come aboard? Was it brought to you? Did you go to her?
Actually, Demi saw the series that I just directed prior, which was the Justin Bieber Seasons doc, and Demi and I knew each other for a couple years, which I think actually ultimately led to us hitting the ground running so fast, and that trust, that inherent trust. I think normally there's that, I always say there's this time period where it starts as interviews and you're like feeling it out, and then it eventually gets to conversations. I feel like the moment we started, 1, Demi was so ready to tell the story and it was cathartic, but 2, we had that rapport and knew each other. I directed Demi in another series that we do, A Pretty Big Deal with Ashley Graham, and I think that was just the tip of the iceberg, like a few little Easter eggs of what was to come. But when I knew Demi liked that series and was interested in telling her story, I couldn't think of something I wanted to do more. She's such a genuine person, and she really wants to help so many people. So the willingness to use her story and her experience to help others, the very thought of that was so exciting to me. And I really just wanted to create the platform for her to tell her truth, and I think we pulled it off.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say so. Susanne, YouTube Originals' relationship with Demi goes back to 2017 with Simply Complicated. What's sort of the secret to the successful partnership, and what made you the best home for Dancing with the Devil?
Well, it was actually 2016 because we bought it in 2016. So we've been working with, we aired it in 2017. So we've been working with Demi for a while. I loved Simply Complicated, and the reaction to Simply Complicated on YouTube was incredible. Just really positive from the fans, loved it. You used the words honest and vulnerable, Jenelle, and Demi was honest and vulnerable in Simply Complicated. And so after Simply Complicated, Demi and I were in a meeting, and she told us she was going on a world tour. And I basically can't get enough of Demi Lovato, and wanted to do a second doc that was following the world tour. But obviously that didn't happen because things got more complicated for Demi. And then when the opportunity arose to tell the story that the journey that she had been through since the tour, of course we wanted to do that. And I mean, Demi has almost 20 million subscribers to her channel on YouTube. Simply Complicated has almost 40 million views. It falls into the category of no-brainer to me to work with Demi and Michael, who did such an amazing job on Seasons.
Yeah. Speaking of Seasons, the Justin Bieber docuseries, Michael, what did you learn from that experience that you took into Dancing with the Devil? What were the things that you knew you wanted to do or not do with this series? Because it feels, it's a docuseries, but it feels very fresh and original, unlike one I've ever seen before.
While there's similarities, I mean, both are global superstar musicians. They're completely different individuals with totally different journeys. And I think what really interested me, I mean, when Demi and I had this first conversation, we talked about, would this work, right? Would the visions align? Dancing with the Devil is about a moment. And from there, peeling back how we got there. And we needed Demi to be all in to tell every piece of that. And ultimately, it was this collision course to this moment in time. And I think that when you create a story that is centered around one moment, but ultimately unpack why we got there, and you have somebody who's really willing to do the work themselves, to identify the traumas and do the self-work, to ultimately allow herself to share it with the world, to then help others and to say it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to talk about these things. That's what, to me, made this so special. It was, how do we go and identify a moment, and from a storytelling perspective, in this nonlinear capacity, talk about this collision course coming together. Seasons wasn't really like that. Seasons was the build-up to an album, and ultimately talking about the couple years prior. It wasn't a moment in time. And I just thought that, once Demi and I had a similar vision for this, and we wanted to identify, that what we refer to now as Miracle Day, as the crux of this story, and build around that. That's when I knew that we could really do something special and I appreciate you saying that felt fresh and felt different and really felt special.
Demi, a lot of celebrities have very manicured images that they sort of project on social media. And there's a moment in this series when your friend is being interviewed and he kind of checks. He says, are we talking about this? Were you always comfortable with the idea of being so open and honest? And did you surprise even yourself in some of these conversations?
I definitely surprised myself when talking about how this path hasn't been squeaky clean, how 2018 wasn't the end-all, be-all of that journey, and so I didn't expect to be that honest on camera. I knew I was going to talk about 2018. I knew I was going to talk about 2020, but I didn't know how honest I was going to be with 2019, and I think I really surprised not only myself but my friends too when I decided to be that honest. And that's the main point behind this docuseries is, yes, I've done a lot of work on myself, but luckily, I had the courage to just come clean so that I could hold myself accountable. And that's the thing, is this whole journey, it's ever evolving. I'm not sitting in front of you claiming to be fixed and to be the poster child for recovery, and I'm not that anymore, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to take that on. But what I will say is this path that I have taken has helped me so much, and I want to share everything with the world so that hopefully it can help others as well.
I mean, the series is also filled with equally frank conversations from important people in your life. Did you find they were pretty willing to participate, or was there any hesitation on anyone else's part?
No, everybody was very, very supportive. I think everyone in my life, especially everyone that you saw on camera, I think the only person that was really hesitant was Danny. We hadn't spoken in that long, and we hadn't seen each other since everything. And, she got treated really poorly in the media, and I wanted to give her a chance to really tell her story. And since I had just now become comfortable with sharing mine, I wanted to do it together and let the world know that, hey, she wasn't a part of this, and she's a really good person.
To that end, actually, Michael, how do you get people to open up? Do you build that trust over time? Do you get to do a lot of interviews with them, or do you usually have just one day and you have to sort of hope that they open up?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I always talk to the person directly prior. So, well, whether that's nowadays a Zoom, there is that sort of key moment where you go and explain to somebody that you're not there to make a salacious hit piece in any capacity. And also, I do think it helps to have a body of work. We've never done that. I've never done that. And I think that if you sit there and you explain to somebody your agenda through and through, this is what the project is about, this is what we're looking to do, and if you are going to stay true to that, there's no reason that they shouldn't partake. And if they choose to opt out, that's their prerogative. But I think that we've had great success because we're not looking for any aha, got you moments. I think we're looking for people to really partake if they would like to. And ultimately, a lot of the people that were involved with this project were people that loved Demi. And this project was the ultimate catharsis. Like I said before, I use that word a lot because I think this is liberating. I mean, even like now, Demi feels lighter knowing this is coming. The world hasn't even seen it yet. The day of the trailer, we were texting back and forth, just like, wow, this feels so good. This has been a long time in the making, and also made this project during a pandemic. It was a weird time. And I think that, finally releasing it to the world, and there's a lot that's not in that trailer that people are about to find out that I think is gonna be, it's gonna create a lot of conversations. So I think that what we put out to the world is what we told the participants it was going to be. I hold that responsibility very close to my heart, and I take it very, very seriously that somebody is going on camera to talk to me and put their reputation on the line. Ultimately, this piece has all of the voices that Demi would want in it, and I think that that's why it's such a holistic view into where she's at today.
Michael, you mentioned that you and Demi knew each other going into this project, but were you as close as you appear to be now?
There's something about the way Demi allowed me in to tell this story, and I think now, I consider her a very dear friend and somebody who, it's rare, we talk about it, so that you're able to be real, genuine friends and work together. That's very special. And that comes on the Friday nights, after Friday night, reviewing the cuts and talking about the meaning of life and why things are in the cut and what's important to her. Those sessions when you're not on camera and a process like this, really 12 months, that's when you get a bond where, you could do a weird, awkward Zoom like this and people can tell that you've become incredibly close. It's the process. And I did feel us get closer throughout the process, and the interviews got more in depth. And I say interviews, the conversations, but I don't know. That's certainly how I feel.
Yeah, 1000%. I feel like we were friends before, and we'd gone to dinner with groups and seen each other here and there, but I think now there's just a different level to our friendship that I'm going to be forever grateful for, to have somebody next to me in this process who not only listened to every word that I said, but fully experienced me as a person. That was so meaningful and valuable to me, and I'm never gonna forget this. And then not only that, but then he killed it, did such a good job. So I'm so grateful and so excited, and yeah, it's definitely brought us closer.
We killed it.
Yeah.
You did.
Susanne, from the perspective of YouTube originals, were you sort of involved in any of the production or post-production, or did you just sort of turn it over and give Michael carte blanche?
We had worked with Michael, obviously, on seasons, and we had a very trusting relationship with Michael. And obviously we'd worked with Demi before, and as I said, super fan. So there was a lot of trust, but at the same time, there was a lot of interaction about, I had a meeting, Demi was there virtually, but it was one of the last meetings I had before everything went virtual. I was in Scooter's office, and Demi was on FaceTime, and she talked about what she wanted to do, and she committed then to being super honest, and I knew she would, because she'd come across so well, beautifully and simply complicated. But really, in the 5 years I've known her, no one's dealt with the kind of intense challenges she has and grown as much from it. as Demi Lovato, and she was excited about Michael. So it was just, there was a lot of trust going through it, and as cuts and dailies came in, we just loved everything we saw. So there was not a big notes process.
Did you always know it was going to be 4 episodes at this under 30-minute length?
I think we discussed potentially different formats, but at the end of the day, that's one of the things I actually love about working at YouTube as opposed to MTV and the networks I worked at. None of my projects have to be in a 22-minute, 44-minute, 90-minute slot format. We can do what's best for the content in terms of formatting. And this was obviously what was best for this content.
Yeah, the story really dictates what the time will be, so to speak, which I really appreciate.
That's true of all of our projects.
Yeah. I would love to just ask some logistical questions, like how long did you shoot? How much footage did you end up with when it came to editing?
I'd also just love to go back just for 1 second, because Susanne is being wildly humble. Her team and Susanne and the YouTube Originals team, Alex Piper and Cara Casey, and I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had with Cara Casey at the most odd 4:30 a.m. and then calling her at 9 p.m. That whole team is so supportive, and they do give good notes and they give perspective, but it's this blend of carte blanche and also here's some thoughts and run it by Demi, or what do you think about this? And I think that rapport, because it was the same team, it was built on seasons. We did Next Chapter together, and now we've done Dancing with the Devil. And I think they understood the gravity of what we were building here. But all credit to YouTube Originals for the way that they do help run the process. And I'm not just saying that because they write the check. I'm saying that because they really do a great job. And Susanne has put together an incredible team. And you know, I remember being at SB Projects with Susanne, talking about getting the band back together. And Susanne had said, well, what length do you think this will be? And Demi and I had talked about length. And everybody really did trust me, which I appreciated, in finding that length. Until the very end, I wasn't sure exactly where episodes were going to land. I wanted the freedom, because YouTube is unique in that way, to find it. And ultimately, you know, the 4-part series felt great because we thought of it as this moment, right, where there was so much to unpack. The idea of it being one straight shot through, there was going to be too much to dissect. So we thought about having it in 4 parts where you could really have a moment to have conversations and provoke dialogue around all of the different things that happen in each episode. I mean, there were times when Demi would tell me something and I was like, I'm so grateful that you want to tell that here and use this platform to tell that part of the story, but that adds another 10 minutes. Like, we'll need to explain that properly, and we had the flexibility to do so. So that leads me to your question. A lot of footage, I joke, if you're going to direct a Demi Lovato project, you better be ready to shoot and keep shooting. So much growth, so much happens on the day-to-day, and she'll call me and say, I really think you should get this one thing. Well, what's that one thing? She says, well, I'm gonna chop all my hair off. I'm like, whoa, continuity, you know. And that process was so fun, and there was some of the charm of impromptu filming was killed because you need to have testing protocols in place and you need to go and really think these things through. That said, Demi was always giving us warning and saying, I want to add this or I want to shoot that. So we shot a lot. We shot for around a year, and then of course we inherited some of the footage from 2018 from that tour, and we cut it all together, and really proud of what is in the cut, and there's a whole other doc we can put together with what hit the cutting room floor. That's great too.
I am actually curious about that. Was there anything you wanted to include, but for any reason, you know, sometimes it just doesn't fit into the narrative you're telling that you couldn't include?
I will go ahead and say I definitely think that there's going to be more in the future. Like, I don't think that it stops at the end of this docuseries. You know what I'm saying? Like Ratty said, you got to be ready to keep filming. So, Susanne, we're ready.
I'm in.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I was absolutely thrilled that everything that we talked about really made it into the series, and there's not a part of 2020, 2019, 2018 that I feel like I left out and didn't get to say. Like, you did such an incredible job of really fitting everything in that I wanted to say and painting a clear picture to everyone about who I am today and where I'm at.
Yeah, there were these, I don't want to call them hard conversations, just incredibly detailed conversations where Demi was explaining how so much of her life is linked and how certain things led to other things. So it would have been a disservice to telling the whole picture to leave out chunks, and it was a puzzle to figure out. But she would say, I really think you gotta figure out how to include X, Y, or Z, and then we would, and then there's a domino effect and it would change a cut. But we did, we got it all in there. There was one, you asked if there's anything that I wish made it. There's one deleted scene, I actually have to show you this, which I think we're talking about putting behind the paywall as like extra bonus content, where Demi's talking about her love of the Mexican pizza from Taco Bell. and it's so good, and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Incredible, and it's this fun scene, and the reason I say I wanted it in there and is because it shows her personality. This doc is so heavy at times, and we do have fun stuff in there, and you learn all the many sides to Demi, but that scene needs to live on its own as a little ancillary piece of content. It's really fun. And also, she explains beyond just it being delicious, why it does have some real significance to you, and it's a really fun scene.
Oh, you were speaking my language. I was heartbroken when they took it off the
I
menu.
held a funeral, okay? I held a funeral. You think I'm kidding?
She's not kidding.
She's not.
Imagine this.
Yeah. I'll send you the scene. You have to watch the scene.
Demi, it sounds like you were involved during post-production, but what was it like when you finally sat down and really watched the series for the first time? And, all these people who are so important to you, who so clearly care and love you so deeply, speaking so passionately about you.
We both just took a deep breath. We both remembered what that day was like. We watched the first episode together, and first of all, the first 3 seconds in, I'm seeing the footage from my Rock in Rio performance, and I see I'm going through the backstage and on the golf cart and the life that I was living before COVID, and I just started crying because I was like, I miss my fans. Like, I haven't performed in so long, and I miss them, and I miss it. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting it together. All right, we're good to go. And then I think after watching the whole episode all the way through, I actually had a bit of a physical reaction where I was like shaking and like breathing heavily, just felt like a little lightheaded. And it was because this is so emotional for me. This is so moving and so, I was terrified, to be honest. Like, I knew it's what I wanted to do, and I knew that I was going to, but it didn't take away the fact that I was terrified the entire time. And even watching it back, knowing that the world was going to see this, I was terrified. But then the trailer came out, and the outpouring of love and support from my fans and other people has just been so remarkable and moving that it's been so beautiful, and I just can't wait for everyone to see the full project.
I'll add, it was really quite something to walk over and put in the first episode. She hasn't seen anything yet, and 3 seconds in, she paused and starts crying hysterically, and I was like, this is going well. I think I killed this one. This is, I was like, but it was just powerful, and I remember I had 2 ready that night, and after 1, she said, I think we should stop after, and she was like, I need to see the second, but I don't think I can.
Yeah.
So we paused and we talked a bit about the first one. It was a rough cut, and then we watched the first and the second together the next time, so it would lead in nicely. But those were really powerful and important parts of the process to just, not have all the noise and cameras and people around and move on to the next scene, but just be able to talk. And I think that's where some of the friendship came into play, because it was just like, it's a Friday night, let's just watch and talk about it and decide what we need to do next.
It also was nice to have something to do on a Friday night in COVID.
Those are big activity. Those are big outings.
Yeah. I just got a theater, so I'm like, yeah, let's go watch it at my theater. It's a big night.
Yeah.
Susanne, YouTube is the largest platform for music consumption. It already has a massive audience. Can you talk a little about the synergy of airing and promoting a docuseries like this and the impact it can have with so many viewers that it can reach?
Yeah, as I said earlier, this was a slam dunk project to do because we know that Demi's engaged and her fans are engaged on the platform and in her channel, and so there's just a built-in fan base that's there that can't wait for anything that Demi does for her next song, for her next story. And moreover than that, mental health is a big agenda for YouTube, as something we want to help provide content for, meaningful content that can resonate with our viewers and help our viewers. And a project like this really is a beacon project for many ways for mental health. So we are excited on so many levels to get behind it and market it and for it to premiere in March.
I actually want to talk about that because the series is so revealing and honest, and I do think it's going to help people talk about mental health and addiction in ways that they might not have before, and sort of let us see that we're always a work in progress. What is it you hope people take away from this show? In revealing so much about your story, which is very personal in some ways, I think it'll also feel universal to a lot of people.
What I want people to take away from this docuseries is you don't have to conform to what other people want you to be, want you to do. You can choose your life. You can set it up the way that you want to. And with the right people around you, the right support system, you can thrive, and you aren't your lowest moments. There was a thing at the end on the, what do you call those? The
final card?
Yeah, the call to action.
Yeah.
It says you are not your lowest moments. And that, when I saw that, I was so excited to see that, because it's, after watching that, I want everyone to take that away from the series.
I mean, obviously the series has some tragic moments, but I feel that it is ultimately just such a beautiful story. And I think people will walk away really kind of feeling inspired. And I want to remind everyone that the first 2 episodes will premiere for free on Demi Lovato's YouTube channel on Tuesday, March 23rd, with new episodes to be released on each of the next 2 Tuesdays. I want to congratulate you on a beautiful series, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you.